and white space, right? And in these contract items, this is about learning from your data set, from your contract data set, learning about who are my biggest customers, who are my biggest vendors, right? And what are my most popular services inside my portfolio? And also some follow-up questions, because you also want to know, what am I selling the most of? Or what's making me the most money? Or which gives me the best margins, right? So those are all, I think, very relevant to check in at some point in time or on a regular basis to see how you're doing in the business side. So if I go here, what are we seeing, right? So you see line items, right? You can see customer, you can see the vendor, you can see the service, you can see the service category, then you can see the contract that is on, the quantity, the list price, the revenue it's making, the cost price, the markup, and the profit.
And this pairs really well with the white space, doesn't it? This, because we're kind of, what we're creating here is a kind of an insights area, really, for salespeople. So you can come in, you can use the white space, see opportunities, but then actually go a little bit deeper and say, hey, I've got opportunities, but which one's actually going to make me money?
Exactly. So if you sort by profit, you can see, okay, what items have the most profit, right? Which ones has the most markup, highest markup? You can do it also by revenue, like highest revenue. So that gives you like a list view. But what I find interesting is two things, right? You can have there's a filter, specific filter here. Let's say, okay, show me all services where the price on the contract is different than the list price, right? And this is like pennies, right? But here it's a lot.
Right? So why is that so important for MSP? Would you say why is that so important?
Well, if your pricing is X today and was Y in the past, at some point in time that could have a very, very solid explanation, but not always, right? So prices change over time, and sometimes you forget to update your contracts. And if you do that for a long period of time, that's where you're going to leak your margins. So you want to be aware, and then you want to be able to take action.
It's actually the first place to start, isn't it, really? Before you start thinking about, okay, like if I've got a goal, I want to increase my ARR, actually I need to go back, correct the things that aren't being billed correctly, then look at any existing customers, and then maybe think about getting new customers. Actually, it's this bit that you need to start with.
Exactly. And look, if you have a lot of services and a lot of vendors that update their prices and their quantities on a monthly basis, you don't want to do this manually, right? Then you want to leverage specific tools that are purpose-built, like Cloud Olive, shout out to Cloud Olive,
yes.
Or Application Link here from the Netherlands, right? So that's and they automate that whole process of getting those new quantities and those prices and then updating the contracts. And then you can see here and confirm that it's actually correct. And then use this as a business intelligence dashboard to say, okay, what are my best performing services or customers or vendors? And then you would decide, okay, this is what I want to sell more of, right? So now you know what services are good to upsell or sell more to inside your customer base. Now, the other cool thing here is that you can group. So how can you group? So you can group with you can slice it three ways. You can say, okay, group by vendor and then by service, right? So that will give you the vendor and then the service, right? And if you sort, you can see the most profitable vendor or the vendor that you sell the most licenses of. The other thing you can do is customer and then service, right? So this will show you, let me do display all, clear filters. Show you all your customers, and then underneath you can expand and see all the services, right? Well, that's another.
Do you normally see that in ConnectWise? I don't use ConnectWise on a daily basis or Autotask. So in terms of, when you get a customer view and you can see there the ultimate profitability of that customer, is that something you can easily pull from?
Well, it depends, because you have to set it up in a particular way, and then you have to do reports. So there's customers that use Power BI to do this or other stuff.
Got it.
But it's not easy to find. There's not easy to find. Yeah. This all depends on your role in the organization, right? If you have access to that information. The other thing you can do is you can sort by category, and then vendor, and then service. So this way you can see, okay, so the most profitable category here in this context is monitoring.
And those categories are synced with the PSA. They're ones that you create in the PSA first. And then
sir. Because those services roll up into a service code, which is like a category. So I think this is fantastic for just figuring out high performers, low performers, and then what to do with that information going forward. And then if you know that this service SaaS management is very profitable, right? Now you can go into the white space, and then you can say, I want to sell SaaS monitoring, SaaS management, and then show me all the customers where I can sell this to that haven't bought this yet.
Yeah, that's great. So probably it's worth pointing out. So if you've literally just tuned in and you've never seen this before, it's just a big grid. You've got basically your services along the top there and your customers down the side. And that shows you an intersection of who's using what, and then lets you generate a proposal if appropriate. And of course, we are a quotation and proposal tool, although we do an awful lot more now, Victor.
Yes, we do. Exactly. But this also gives you the insights. And then you can execute based upon that insight. So you can now say, okay, I can see who bought this, who has an open opportunity for this specific service, and who hasn't yet bought this. So then you can say, okay, I want to create a proposal and an opportunity for that service for this customer based on this template. And it will create that for you. And then you can go through the motions of developing that opportunity over time.
Yeah, I really like this. So, and I'm slightly biased, but I can see that. Yeah, that workflow.
Yeah, so this works seamlessly together, right? And also, like, what you do here influences what you look up here. And the other thing you can do is to reiterate, because we talk a lot about this stuff, but you can't repeat it often because not everybody has seen this or heard this or watched this before. So you can select all the companies after you do a query. And then you can select the results, and then you can add a tag, a label to those companies within those results, and then they're labeled, right? Now, what can you do with those labels? You can then go into the company view, and you can now sort using those labels. So I can go in here, and then only show me the companies where I applied this label to. And then you say, okay, so why is this beneficial? What can I do with this? So one workflow could be that you go into that company and then you pick a contact, right? And then you say, okay, I want to email my contact person because I have a related offer, because I want to upsell this service that they haven't bought yet. I think they should buy it because this is a perfect service for the customer. It's also one of my high performing services. And now I'm going to use one of my predefined templates to tell this customer about that specific service. To say, hey, hope you're doing well. I was looking over your account. I noticed you haven't set you up with our service A yet. We think you like it. It's important. Let's have a conversation. And you say confirm. And that will send an email from the account manager to the contact. That's very relevant because it's all based on the contract, on the opportunity, on the company, on what's missing. And now you're going to open up a conversation, hopefully create an opportunity, and then create a proposal, and then close it out. That's the work.
Yeah, and you can use that. You can use that however you like. You can use that insight however you like, can't you? But that's brilliant because it's not only is it tailored, which we know is emails that are tailored and relevant are always going to perform better, but it's also personal as well. It doesn't look like a marketing email, and they'll know you as an account manager. So yeah, it's powerful, isn't it? And you can also use that insight, if you work if you don't do on the spot kind of communications and things, and you're more about TBRs or QBRs, and you can just use that information. You can build it in. We almost need a bit of a playbook really on how to use this now. I think it feels like we need to sort of have like the steps to go through, in terms of the the first thing to do is, oh, okay, right, well, I'm going to look for any underbuild or overbuild items. And we used to do that in the white space, but I guess you do that in the insights now, because there's two ways to do it. Is that correct?
There's two ways to do it. There's two different perspectives, because there's two different workflows. One is I want to learn high performers, then I want to apply that information in my sales process. So that's the insights and the BI that's coming into Salesbuildr.
Very good. Is it, you say, coming in? Is that arrived yet, or are we testing?
No, this is live, but it's iterating every sprint. But this is live today.
Excellent.
Yeah,
brilliant. So it's live for everyone now. That's good.
Yeah. So next up, we can talk about the upcoming HubSpot integration, which I think is also cool.
Yes. We've been asked for this
actually, a lot of MSPs that use both PSA and HubSpot. And then what for, you would ask, right? Why use them together?
Yeah.
Well, that's because HubSpot is like one of the leading platforms for you can host and manage your website, you can manage your content, you can do your email automation, you can do your forms. Like, there's a lot of stuff. It's a very powerful platform, obviously. They're very big. And MSPs that we talk to, they do their initial top of the funnel, middle of the funnel, bottom of the funnel inside HubSpot. And once they need to create a proposal based on an opportunity development, then they need to create a proposal, and then that needs to push into their PSA.
I think that's important, actually, Victor, because I think we talk about top of funnel, bottom of funnel. I think it's probably worth just clarifying a bit. So there's some stuff that there's a bit of overlap, isn't there? And we do have this conversation. So there's a lightweight CRM within Salesbuildr, and but what that doesn't do, that lets you put in contacts and companies, and you can enrich that data, and you've got deal stages and that kind of thing. But it depends on what your needs are, basically, as a business. So if you've got more advanced needs, or if you're going down a marketing automation route, yes, we can send emails, and you've just seen how we can do it on a personal basis. But if you want to send a marketing campaign to hundreds or even thousands of contacts, and have it lead scored and set up, that kind of thing, and have automations, and I mean, obviously HubSpot is an absolute beast of a product with multiple modules in every area. So occasionally, depending on the size or your operational maturity, there's a time when actually some companies will think, maybe I will go into that, that marketing automation realm, and I need it to talk to Salesbuildr. And it's that we're so excited about being able to satisfy when it's So good to see that in there. But that's
a good clarification. And HubSpot does a lot of things. For example, Salesbuildr cannot track who's visiting your website, right? Identify them, apply a lead score based on how many visits, what products, what pages have been visited, but that's important information. And then based on that, HubSpot can automatically add those companies or those contacts to a list, and then based on that list, create or generate opportunities, right? So that's something that's, especially if you're bigger, right, it's a more powerful workflow tool. So that's great.
And we take it from there, don't we? Once you're an opportunity, once you've done that and you've generated the interest, perhaps from a cold list or whatever it might be, we then take it from there and allow you to talk to people and send them proposals and look into their behaviors.
And what we can then do, and that's maybe good to put it on the screen again. There we go. Is what we then do? Is we now have that information from HubSpot inside Salesbuildr, right? So as you can see here, you can see the company in Salesbuildr. There's a little icon that takes you to Autotask, opens the Autotask company card, and now there's a HubSpot icon. If I click that, that will open the company record inside HubSpot.
Mm-hmm.
That's one thing.
So would you create sorry, Victor, to interrupt you there. Would you create the company in HubSpot and then it would sync over, or vice versa, or does it matter?
Yes, well, it's vice versa. So what happens is you define the lifecycle stage. Like when a prospect turns into an opportunity, you can set the lifecycle stage, then push it to Salesbuildr. So you can set rules for when it needs to be pushed to Salesbuildr.
Brilliant.
And the other way around too.
Yeah.
So if I create a company in Salesbuildr, create a company in Hubspot with a lifecycle stage, prospect or opportunity or whatever you define. Right? And then it syncs over the company, it syncs over the contacts, right? And it syncs over here's another icon. So you get all these shortcuts throughout the application that take you to the relevant record inside HubSpot. Same here. I have the opportunity. It will sync the opportunity with HubSpot, but the proposal will remain in Salesbuildr. I can open up, there we go, the opportunity inside Salesbuildr.
That is so small on my screen. I haven't seen this before. So okay, so can you see that? You can see that proposal's been sent.
Yes. Well, you can see that the deal, what Salesbuildr does, it will update the stage, the opportunity stage, based on the status of the proposal. So if you go from draft,
got it,
to send, to approved or expired or declined, you can then say if that happens, then update the stage by using this stage in HubSpot.
Fantastic.
Same applies to other tasks, right? So basically, you have 3 sales pipelines with sales stages: HubSpot, Salesbuildr, other task, and they're all synced. And the end goal is they're aligned, and based on triggers, they flow from A to B. And once you create a proposal, it will update the HubSpot opportunity with the deal value and the source. So you can see inside HubSpot how that moves across your pipeline, and the revenue amounts are correct and accurate. And once the customer signs that proposal, it will update your HubSpot. So you know, okay, that's done. It's now a done deal. It's won. And it will push it into your other task with all the relevant services, like the hardware, the software, the services, the labor, that you can then flow onto a post-sale ticket, or use it to create your contract or do your purchase order, all the post-sale workflows that you have to do.
Love that.
Yeah. So that's coming up. It's being battle tested right now, and I expect it to be like a V1 live at the end of the month.
Are there any other elements to this? Is that the? So it sounds like it's kind of everything that you need. I don't know on a daily basis. Is there any other elements of this that we're looking into, or is this considered okay? Got everything we need.
Well, it's there's in anonymous space. There's an article. There's 2 articles actually. One describes. Hold on. There we go. How to connect to HubSpot, and then how does it work? Like what happens? How are companies synchronized, and what's the trigger to synchronize them? How do you create or link Salesbuildr companies into HubSpot, or link a Salesbuildr company to an existing HubSpot company record? Contacts, opportunities, and then what information is being synced over for entities, company, contact, and opportunity. So you can read all about that here. And then there's an article that will explain to you, okay, what can you do with those 2 powerful platforms? Like, what are the strengths of HubSpot? What are the strengths of Salesbuildr? And how do they complement each other? And then we have some actionable examples, like what can you do setting up workflows, using email tracking, how dashboards can be used. And also, like, we have some call-outs that explain, okay, what does Salesbuildr add when you're only using HubSpot today, or HubSpot and other tasks? What will Salesbuildr add to the mix? For example, it will tell you who has bought what and who hasn't bought your high-performance services. And then you can use that insights to update company records, etc. So this is available, so you can already dive into the knowledge base and read what's coming up. And you can reach out to us to book a demo or to discuss a use case that you have. Yeah.
Yeah, please do that. Thank you, Victor. That was a really good overview. I'm very excited to see this. That's the first time I've actually seen it. We've been talking about it internally on Slack and what have you. So I know it's been coming. So that's great to see a little bit about how it works. So this is still being tested at the moment. We're making sure that there's no issues with it before it gets released. When can we expect this one? This is this. I believe it's this month, isn't it? The September release.
End of the month.
I think it's okay. Yeah.
Excellent.
Wonderful. So we'll let you guys know as soon as that's available. Obviously, we'll be making some more noise about it on here and sharing that with you. Victor, thank you very much. I'm going to let you go for a second because it's time for Bram's top tips.
There we are. It's been a while.
It has. How are you doing? It's nice of you to join us.
We're doing great. Yeah, of course we have talked to each other like last week, but that was not about the top tips. So I think the top tips have been throughout like vacation and a bigger session like last week, and then I think I was sick somewhere for a day somewhere. So I think it's been a while since we've had one of these.
It has. You will do anything to get out of this particular session when you. I'm convinced of it. I think that's what it is. Listen, Bram. For those of you who maybe for any new viewers, do you want to introduce yourself quickly?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, so I'm Bram. I'm doing the customer success here at Salesbuildr. That means that right now, basically juggling with a little bit of, well, actually making customers successful, onboarding them, doing a little bit of support as well. So a lot of hats right now, but that also means that, well, that's why we kind of introduced this this specific topic. Because it also means that I have a lot of tips left and right laying around to
I love that.
feed to our customers.
Yeah, definitely. And I think we should share the news as well. It's really important to share when we've sort of, we've got new team members and things. So we actually bolstered the customer success team. So yeah, is life any easier for you now, would you say? Or is it just
absolutely
twice the work?
Yeah. So we introduced Michael, and that's absolutely helping me a ton. He's been doing great. And yeah, absolutely a load off my back in terms of like helping me out on that front.
Yeah, I'm so happy about our onboarding process. I think with you guys at the helm, yeah, we're in a good place. But anyway, listen, I think we shouldn't delay it any further. So you've got a tip for us this week. Do you want to take it away?
Yeah, absolutely. The thing that I have today, kind of, it might, for people that have viewed all these sessions throughout the time, it might be similar to one that I said in the past, but at the end of the day, repetition is also key in some aspects, right? So the top tip of today is that Rome wasn't built in a day, and don't try to make your tool be completely perfect within a day. What I'm noticing is that a lot of times when I start like onboarding different customers, is when I kind of and I noticed that they try to do everything perfectly right away. So that means they try to have their entire product portfolio set up right away with everything, all the margins, all the add-ons, and everything being perfect. And that just doesn't really exist when implementing a new tool. And this, even more important, it can take you a very long time to get things perfect and then find out that it still wasn't perfect and going back to the drawing table after that. And that just burns time and cash at that moment. So what I always recommend is taking it slow, starting off with the basics, the things that are most important to you. So about those categories, something that I also talk about quite often during these meetings. If you look at those categories, like you can go down every single category level, or you can just start with the things that you sell most. If you're selling a lot of laptops left and right, then just create some categories for that and create some logic for that, because that's where you're probably going to get most of your time back. If you're mostly selling services, then look at those and how you are able to really bundle those in the best way, and then the rest will find its way as well. If you're not sure about how to set up rules with your sales team. Like for those of you who don't know, there's certain in the premium package, there's some certain rules that you can set up. So everything over $1 million needs to go to the CEO. Everything of the category custom builds needs to go to an engineer first before it can be sent out. Those kinds of things. Don't try to have all of that perfect either. Just start off with one. Everything above a certain amount of revenue needs to be checked, and you can find out along the way what you need to add to that. And I think that this doesn't even apply only to Salesbuildr. I think that this works with a lot of different toolings. Just start off with the things that are most important to you, and then add along the way the things that you kind of need to add at that point. So that is the tip of today. James, can I bring you back?
You can bring me back. I was just frantically clicking around trying to get back on the screen. That's really good. Thank you. As you can see, I mean, the product itself, I mean, just in the Salesbuildr realm, it's gone so much beyond. That loud crash outside.
Okay, yeah.
I'm not quite sure what that was. Yeah, I mean, it's gone so much beyond sort of proposals and quotation only that, there's so much there that you really do need to think about, and to take it on at once would be kind of crazy. And I think your onboarding process, I think, is great because it sets off, you've got checklists and it sets you off in that vein, recreate the proposal templates, then we can look at iterating, and generally there's like an iterative process throughout. So yeah, I think that's sage advice.
One at a time. You really can't. Yeah, you really shouldn't. What's the expression? Bite off more than you can chew.
That's right. You should eat the frog, which is something I'm learning about at the moment, which is get that thing done. Get that thing done, the important thing. Excellent, Bram. Thank you so much. Listen, our next segment is the industry news. So it's a nice piece of content, which I think you might be potentially interested in. So I'll step into that and keep you on, if that's okay.
Yeah, sure.
That looks like some really useful content.
There we go. Look at that. Okay, so I'm going with a LinkedIn post this time. I thought I'd share this with you guys. This is one that was shared internally on our Slack, and I really liked it. We're talking a lot about the hiring process and what do you need in an SDR. And I think this is a sort of sales development representative, a salesperson, effectively. If you're an MSP and you're looking at building out your sales team, it's not an easy thing, especially if you've not come from a sales background. And I think Sophie Allen's an expert in this area. Don't know Sophie personally, but really liked her post. And she's put together a few points, which I think are pretty useful. So I thought we'd just walk through some of them. I think it's quite nice to chat about these. So she said that attitude wins over experience every time. And I think that's something that certainly I see in the successful performing teams, is that actually, and I see this in the tech team as well, actually, is that the being able to recruit from colleges or universities, even where there's no industry or actual practical experience, but the attitude and aptitude is there. I think that's sound advice. What do you guys, any thoughts on this, guys?
I 100% agree. I think within an SDR role, especially, like it's a lot of no's. It's a lot of getting the phone hung up on you, meaning you need to have some mental fortitude to be able to keep on picking up that phone. And I think if you have that attitude down, being able to really take that in and not let that beat you down, then all the little things in terms of like how you can speak better or other knowledge, like you can learn that, but that attitude of just keeping on going, that's a lot harder to teach someone.
Yeah, no, indeed.
I agree. What's there to be said? I mean, and also like the whole attitude wins over experience. I mean, sure, you can have a lot of experience, but attitude down is not going to get you anywhere, especially not if you're an SDR, right? You have to bring the energy, and it has to translate over the phone when someone picks up. And that's very important. If you can't bring that, good luck.
Yeah, making that, if you can't make that connection, it's not happening. Well, it doesn't matter what medium you're trying to do it on. And so she mentioned some other good points here. So that's a good point on salary there. So in London, obviously we have a global audience, but in London gives you an idea. So 31,000 basic, 43k OTE. So it's just about keeping commission structures simple, but also don't try and scrimp and think that's going to help you because in the long run, it's probably not going to. Some nice tips here. We don't necessarily have to speak about these ones. Come to the interview. If they come to the interview underprepared, it's not a good sign. I think we can all agree with that one. Try and keep to a 2-3 stage interview process that happens quickly. So that's much better than a long drawn out one. I think that's a really, really good one. Don't go for the 5-year plan. I think I have asked that question in interviews before, definitely. So don't you go for a 5-year plan if you're an SDR, particularly, I guess, if you're going to be if you're recruiting graduates, there may not be an immediate 5-year plan, but perhaps ask, what's important in the next 6 months or something along those lines.
5 days.
5 days. 5 days. It could well be, yeah. The average ramp time, you need to give a few months before you can expect really the results to come. But in that time, you should know, are they right or not for the company? Are they a good fit? As Bram said, cold calling feels scary at first. So a really good thing to do is to basically get them started as soon as they can. And also, I think what's important as well is to have someone alongside them as well, I think, in the same arena. So that's something that we talk about sometimes. Obviously, there's a lot of benefits to remote work, but I think it's really important as well to, particularly in sales roles and particularly with new starters, that they're alongside someone to begin with. I don't know, any thoughts, guys?
Yeah, I definitely think so.
Yeah.
You go ahead.
You go first, Bram.
There's a little bit of a delay on the thing, so I'll just go. I definitely agree. I remember like at the beginning of COVID, I started with a company. It was really difficult then to learn from other people because there was no way to kind of sit in the same area as other people. And I think especially in those first few weeks, it's definitely very important to learn off of people. And I really do think there are ways to do that digitally, but it requires you to set those things up. You can't just say, oh, from now on, just do it. You need to think about that. Like, how do I bring those people along? If you're working fully digitally, then you still need to really set things up to bring them along in that journey. And I think a lot of companies don't do that. And then they kind of expect the same results between being in person and digitally. But for a new starter, just sitting next to somebody can really help.
Yeah, I think you have to be able to model the behavior of others. They're doing a good job. That's the key, I think. And if you can't model someone, you can't pull it out. Yeah, I mean, there are people that can self-learn, self-develop, but most of them love like a good example. And if you're, I mean, SDR, was I ever an SDR? Well, yeah, sure. I mean, you have to just cold call companies where you have something that nobody knows about, right? That's basically cold calling.
That's been how you got the Salesbuildr off the ground, right? I mean, that's like you've done that role. You've done
yeah, pretty much. Yeah. It was another way. Yeah, but it's not really cold because that started with warm relations, right? So it's different. But then in the end, you have to go to the cold when your friends and run out. But the other thing that's important also, pick the right context. I mean, you have to work for a company that you're proud of on the phone too, to represent. You have to be able, so and such an important thing is you have to stand by the product that you want to sell. Otherwise, you have to fake it. And then if you're not authentic, you can smell it a mile away. And that's also not going to get you what you need. It's hard. It's not always, you can't always really pick 100% best fit for you. But I think it's very important, especially if you're looking for an SDR role, to take that into consideration.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, and I think it's okay to share. I think when I joined the business, and I've got a feeling it's been the same with everyone. Really, one of the key points that you drummed home was look at the product. Make sure you tested the product. Do you like the product? You have to like the product, otherwise, because I mean, okay, I'm not an SDR, but I'm in a similar role where I'm going to be talking about it, and so the whole business needs to be invested in it. And
you have to fall in love with the product and fall in love with the team.
Yes.
If that doesn't happen, it's not going to happen.
Oh, such great advice today. I mean, honestly, you've got your money's worth, I'd say, this week. All right. So, and then the last point, constant expectation management about absolutely everything is key. So I guess that comes back to, more communication you can have without micromanaging, the better. And finally, I think a really good point, volume of activity is a key indicator of how motivated they are to get this job done. Numbers don't lie. Anyone want to add anything to that?
I think that was one of my my first jobs. I was a recruiter, and there it was really important to also make like 40 calls, I think, a day. And that wasn't making 40 calls, that was having 40 conversations a day. So you needed to make about, about 200 calls a day to get those 40 conversations in. That was the only way that people actually got through that job, by making those calls every day, making sure you have a list of about 200, 400 different contacts, and just keep that phone ringing the entire time. Fantastic. It was the only way to do it.
Yeah, that's the way to do it. And you cut your teeth. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's also the combination of the volume and the quality of what you're doing. Because if you're doing something 40 times, what you're doing is not working. So you have to do quick feedback learning loops with your colleagues or with whatever. You got so much content online today where you can just learn on how to do it. Or even communities where you can role play with each other and then get your feedback that way. So yeah, I think that's the other thing that's important. But for sure, it's a numbers game.
Couldn't agree more. Lads, thank you very much for that. Really appreciate it. Listen, we're going to move into, we've got some events to talk about. So I'm going to let you go, Bram, and Victor, I'll call you back shortly. Thank you very much for joining us. We'll see you again next week. Okay, a very special event to tell you about. This is based in London. We do events all over the world. So we've just done ChannelCon in the US, but this is a London one, and I really wanted to call this one out because we're going to be there next week, and this is very different to many of the events that we probably find ourselves at. The guys who run Uptime, they're actually an outsourced help desk service. Hopefully, I'm not selling them too short, but so Brad honestly is absolutely amazing, and these guys really push as much as possible. Brad and Jason push as much as possible for doing things differently. So this is a really different event, and they've got a few mantras in that they're bringing fresh speakers, so people you haven't heard of before, people you won't have seen at events. They want to basically bring some new input, some new advice, and avoid what is often sort of quite regurgitated content, which we're all kind of guilty of. It's a not-for-profit event, and all of the presentations have been vetted by the team to make sure that they're not sales pitches in disguise. So I think it's going to be a really great day. If you head over to the website, you'll see there's plenty of information there. You've got the agenda there, and you can see there's Jason Kemsley, who heads it up. Got a session on building business acumen, the new breed of MSP. These guys, as outsourced help desk, speak to an enormous number of MSPs and are always at the sort of the forefront of trends and are able to give their perspective on where we're headed. And it's often not the same as you'll find elsewhere, as I say. Some stuff on M&A, the compliance opportunity, building business frameworks, some more on the new breed, secrets to growth, got some panels in there. And then the vendors do get a sort of 2-minute tip session, which I think is great. Even as a vendor, I don't want to be filling your time with necessarily sales pitches. It's not going to do either of us any good, but it's good to know that, good to let you know that actually we're here and what it is we do. So at least you can come and see us if you'd like to. And then on the main stage, for our global audience, I don't know if Levi Roots has made it across the pond yet, but he won Dragon's Den, which is the equivalent of Shark Tank, for his delicious reggae sauce, as it were. And he's sort of come from a very sort of humble beginning and built a very successful brand around this sauce and gone into, obviously numerous sort of flavors and all sorts of different merchandise and food ranges and stuff. So he's a really interesting person to hear from, and definitely someone that we've not heard from before. So we'd love to see you there. There's going to be plenty of, I think it's about 600 MSPs, and there'll be some sort of telecoms companies there as well, which will be interested. Those ones that are looking to get into the MSP space. So come along, see us there. Hopefully, if you want any details, hit me up on LinkedIn, or Jason Kemsley or Bradley Monday are the people to speak to about that. Okay, Victor, we're coming towards the end. That's it. So we've got a tune of the week to share. What was your tune, Victor?
Look, I got so much potential tunes for you. So anytime you ask, I got one. So this one is Serious from the Alan Parsons Project, and how I came up with this, well, it's in my list. But I saw a documentary a couple of years ago, which is The Last Dance, and it's a documentary about the Bulls, the Chicago Bulls, and it's on Netflix. I think it's still on Netflix. It is a fantastic documentary about I mean, Mike Jordan, and how ambitious he was, and how he pulled that team and made it like the best team ever. And that was the tune that they played inside the stadium when they came up.
Yeah, it's a brilliant documentary. Story. I did that on one of the. I think it was actually ChannelCon last year when I watched it on the plane, and soaked it up. Got me through those terrible flying hours. So, and I realised I know the tune very well, despite not actually picking up on the name. So I'll let this one play. So you can find all the tunes that you hear on. It's a bit of a classic, isn't it? We should play this at the start of the day to get us,
If you're in a sales team and play it for the team, it's a good tune to get pumped.
I've just got another thought for next. I'm going to do tune of the week myself next week. Got one we used to do back in the day. So when we roll out Hubspot, I think
you can use this tune.
Hubspot Salesbuildr logo can emerge. Excellent. Listen, I'll leave that on playing for a moment. That's a brilliant track. Love that one. We'll add that to our Spotify playlist, Salesbuildr Unplugged. You can find it on Spotify, funnily enough. Listen, what else have we got going on, Victor? Any other anything else you want to mention? What's happening in the next couple of weeks?
Well, we're going to keep on building. I think a lot of people are coming back from the holiday season. So It's going to be a lot of conversations, which is what we love to do. So connect with customers, connect with potential customers, and do a lot of chats with the team to build the stuff that you guys want. And that's what we're going to keep doing.
Excellent. Nothing it definitely feels like a bit of a. It definitely feels like. Sorry, what was that?
Nothing really surprising. That's what we love to do. So we're going to keep on doing that.
We do indeed, and I mean, we're going to be definitely. Restart. It's almost like after summer holidays, everyone's back now, so it feels like a great time to be loads of momentum going on. And hopefully, if you're interested and you want to have a chat to us about your sort of sales process needs, then feel free to hit us up. We're here every week, same time, every Thursday, with more content. Victor, thank you for joining me. Really enjoyed that insight and seeing the new features for the first time. That was great. And
thank you for taking care of
questions. Yeah, no worries. All right, everyone, take care, and I'll see you next time.